Hello and welcome. I'm Brianna Schofield, and this is Copyright Session 8, Fair Use Myth-Busting. We've learned in previous sections about what fair use is and how it interacts with activities associated with text data mining. In this section, we'll spend some time debunking common misconceptions about what fair use does and does not allow, so that you are better informed about how it applies in different situations. The first misconception we'll address is the claim that you cannot rely on fair use if you ask for permission and are denied. This is wrong. The truth is, you definitely don't have to ask for permission or even alert a copyright holder when a use of materials is protected by fair use. But if you do inquire about permission, you can still claim fair use if your permission request is refused or ignored. In some cases, courts have found that asking permission and then being rejected has actually enhanced fair use claims. The Supreme Court has even said that asking for permission may be a good faith effort to avoid litigation. Another common misconception is that an author cannot rely on fair use if she is using an entire copyrighted work. This is also false. The amount of the work copied is just one factor courts consider alongside the other factors. And in particular, courts look at whether the amount used was reasonable in light of the purpose of the use. In some situations, courts have found use of an entire work to be fair. We saw that in the Google Books case we examined in detail in a previous section. Even though Google copied entire books when making its searchable index, the court found that copying of the entire work was reasonably appropriate to the transformative purpose. Indeed, the court even said that it was literally necessary to achieve the purpose. Another misconception we hear a lot is that you cannot rely on fair use if you are using unpublished material. Again, this is simply wrong. Congress amended the Copyright Act in 1992 to explicitly allow for fair use when using unpublished works after several court decisions suggested that the use of unpublished materials would rarely be fair use. A court may still consider a work's unpublished status to weigh against fair use when evaluating the nature of the work under Factor 2, but this factor is rarely decisive on its own, and courts must still weigh all of the other factors, including the purpose of the use. The purpose of the use may weigh against fair use if the unpublished material is being used in a frivolous or exploitative manner. On the other hand, the purpose of the use may weigh in favor of fair use if the unpublished material transforms the original material and contributes to the public's interest in advancing knowledge. Another misconception is that an author cannot rely on fair use if he is using highly creative copyrighted works. This is wrong. While courts do consider whether the copyrighted material used is primarily factual or creative under the second factor, the nature of the work, this factor is rarely decisive on its own. Courts still must weigh all four factors, again, including the purpose of the use. Where the purpose of the use is transformative and the amount used is reasonable, the second factor rarely affects the final outcome of fair use cases. And the final misconception I'll address today is the idea that an author cannot rely on fair use if she is making a commercial use of a copyrighted work. If you're sensing a pattern here, you won't be surprised to learn that this is also wrong. The truth here is that while non-commercial uses may be a plus in a fair use analysis, there are no categorical rules. Commercial uses can be fair use, and not all non-commercial uses will be fair use. In fact, some of the important court victories for fair use over the past 2 decades have been won by defendants whose activities were commercial, including musicians, publishers, and artists who sell their works, sometimes at substantial prices. That's all for our fair use myth-busting session. Hopefully this section cleared up some common misconceptions about fair use, leaving you better equipped to understand when fair use may or may not apply.